Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something pretty unusual. You brought to us this combination of an aluminum mirror, obsidian, and angel quartz. Just, three objects you might not think twice about.
Right, but what's really striking, from the sources you shared, the supplemental operational reflection, and the reflections, absorptions, and anchors piece, is how they frame it. It's not about ritual, not symbolism.
No, not at all.
They call it a hidden technological interface, operating completely outside of, belief or even language as we typically use it.
Exactly. So our mission here in this deep dive is to really get under the hood of this triadic system. How is it supposed to work? The claims are deflection of distortion, dealing with internal shadow, and anchoring something called vertical resonance. You were clearly intrigued by this.
Absolutely. There's a certain elegance to the description.
Okay, so let's unpack it. Starting with the first piece, something super common.
Right.
The aluminum mirror. What's the idea here? What's it doing?
The core concept with the mirror seems to be its role as a completely non-reactive boundary. The sources really stress how ordinary it is. It's just mechanical, not inherently energetic or spiritual.
And that's its strength, apparently.
Exactly. That lack of inherent meaning is supposedly key. It's described as a directional silence panel.
Right, and direction matters. Pointing it inward creates loops, outward fragments, incoming gaze, or attention. And this part really jumped out at me. It doesn't need light, just intention and proximity, like being near your nervous system. How does that actually work? What's the effect?
Well, think of the examples they give, like in a car on the dashboard. The idea is it helps stabilize your visual circuits, maybe dampens that constant mental chatter, the associative tracking of everything you see.
Ah, okay, like reducing the processing load?
Kind of. Creating a little feel of neutrality right there in your immediate environment.
Or carrying it in your pocket, reflecting projections, whether they're your own thoughts or coming from outside, before they really land, before they solidify, like a preemptive deflection.
Yes, exactly that, a preemptive bounce.
Makes sense, but they also talk about needing to clear it sometimes, not like wiping it clean, but something else.
Yeah, that's about preventing what they call false memory saturation. Yeah. The idea is, if it just sits there untouched, it might start reflecting back old, stagnant information, becoming a timeline trap.
A timeline trap?
Or if its ability to reflect is somehow limited, it becomes a veil, obscuring things. Mm-hmm. So clearing it is about maintaining that neutral, non-stick quality.
And they specifically contrast it with things like quartz or copper, right? Aluminum doesn't store intention, doesn't hold on to vibrations.
Right, it's a dead lens, is the phrase used. It flattens the input signal, which is why it's suggested for, say, overwhelming environments, digital overload, intense emotional spaces, even what they term psychic noise. It stops you getting entangled.
So it's reflecting attention itself, not just light, but without grabbing onto the meaning or the feeling behind that attention?
Precisely. It's a non-consensual witness. Reflects the gaze, good, bad, whatever, without participating. That's the passive defense idea. It deflects without arguing, stabilizing just by refusing to absorb or amplify.
Okay, got it. The aluminum mirror. Non-reactive boundary, passive deflector. So then, let's shift to obsidian. This sounds completely different. A density sink. What's the principle here?
Yeah, very different feel. With obsidian, the core idea seems to be intentional containment, specifically for transformation. The writing uses strong language, heavy with implication, linking it to volcanic eruption, like frozen spiritual consequence.
Wow, okay. Heavy indeed.
There's definitely a sense it holds something substantial. Its job is to absorb that density, unresolved feelings, psychic noise, even karmic residue.
Yet it doesn't just make it vanish.
No, that's crucial. It doesn't dissipate it, it holds it. It basically demands, you look at it, demands accountability. It acts like a kind of black hole, turning projections inward, forcing self-confrontation.
How does that actually feel for someone carrying or wearing it?
The description suggests it changes how you process your own internal stuff. Reactions might feel heavier, maybe decisions take longer. There's a sense of your own field pressing inwards on itself.
So it's not really shielding, like the mirror.
Not in the same way. It's more like filtration, compelling you to contain and face what's inside, rather than just blocking external things out.
And that idea of its pull being stronger if you have more unresolved issues, that's potent. Explains why it could feel grounding if things outside are chaotic, but maybe suffocating if you're already in a heightened emotional state and ignoring it.
Exactly that. It metabolizes shadow, it offers containment when you're under pressure, not diffusion, not letting it spill out, and they mentioned pairing it with breathwork, grounding, silence. Then it becomes a karmic transmuter.
Meaning it processes that heavy energy internally, without projecting it.
That's the idea. Processing without dispersal onto others.
Okay. So mirror sets the outer boundary, obsidian creates the inner container for processing, and within the triad, the obsidian is the stabilizer of intent.
Yes, it holds those lower frequencies, anchors your presence. It stops the angel quartz, the next element, from getting too floaty or disconnected. It's the root, the gravitational center pulling things down to earth.
Makes sense. Okay, so that brings us to the angel quartz. Lightest, most subtle. The principle here is resonance.
Resonance with inherent order seems to be the concept. It's often misunderstood, apparently, but the sources suggest it has this high potential for nonverbal transmission.
It's described as having an auric vapor coating, being vertically responsive. But crucially, on its own, it's not great.
Right. On its own, it apparently amplifies vulnerability. It doesn't protect, it doesn't bind intent like some might think. Its real function only kicks in
When the conditions are right.
Exactly. When it responds to coherence. Its key function is transmitting vertical patterning, but only when the field is already contained, bracketed by the mirror and the obsidian, like a tuning fork that only rings when the right note is struck nearby.
In this transmission, it's a silent broadcast. Not words, not images.
No, more structural is the sense I get.
Yeah.
Someone might actually notice as subtle, maybe feeling more aligned, memory threads connecting more easily, maybe grief processing more cleanly.
The effect is noticeable mainly by contrast then. Like take it away and things feel off, bring it back, and clarity returns.
That's what the text implies. Removing it collapses that clarity, and reintroducing it restores a kind of unspoken permission to align.
So it's not like the typical high-vibration crystal idea.
Not exactly. It's presented as structurally responsive to alignment, but only within that specific contained setup. It doesn't force anything, but in a field that's already shielded by the mirror and grounded by the obsidian, it resonates with precision.
Transmitting sacred silence, not visions, just presence.
A deep sense of presence, yeah. Yeah, it's the resonance center, the whole thing, like a soft beacon reminding the nervous system what clarity feels like. But it absolutely needs the other two to function that way.
Okay, so we have the three parts. The mirror's non-reactive boundary, obsidian's intentional containment, quartz's resonance with order, but the sources insist they work as a system, an interface. Beyond language, beyond belief.
Yes, the synergy is key.
Let's recap those roles within the system then. Mirror clears the perimeter, stops the unwanted gaze, the psychic bleed-in.
Keeps the noise out.
Obsidian grounds the whole thing, metabolizes the internal loops. The shadow alchemy keeps it contained.
Handles the internal processing.
And an angel quartz, only when it's protected and rooted by the others, transmits that vertical memory, that alignment signal to your body, your being, the resonant anchor.
And critically, there's no performing, no commanding. It's correction through contrast. The system just creates a clearer field, and distortions naturally stand out more or fall away.
And you don't always need to be physically touching them once the pattern is set.
Apparently not. Just having them nearby, pockets, bag, car, is enough.
Yeah.
The influence persists unless, you have a major emotional upset or encounter really strong disruptive energy.
And there's a cumulative effect mentioned. Like, the longer the system is in place, the more stable the local zone becomes.
Yeah, even a mobile space like a car can become a resonance chamber, subtly shifting decisions, interactions, thought patterns, emotional reactions, especially if you add intentional breathing.
It's fascinating. It's not imposing transformation. It's removing distortion, leaving this quiet, slower, undisturbed space behind.
And that fatigue people might feel at first. It's not an energy drain. It's the body recalibrating, letting go of old tension patterns it didn't need anymore.
And taking one piece away screws up the whole system.
Right. That's what highlights their individual roles. Take away obsidian, false clarity, maybe ungrounded intuition. Take away the mirror, porousness, just absorbing everything unchecked. Take away the quartz, stagnation, a neutral field, but nothing's really happening, no resonance.
And the exact placement, like a perfect triangle, isn't the most critical thing.
Proximity seems more important than perfect geometry. The typical suggestion is like mirror high up facing out, obsidian low near the root, quartz near the solar plexus or maybe in sunlight. But it's the relationship between them and you.
What might someone else notice? Someone outside this field looking at a person using it.
The effects described are subtle. Maybe a pause in someone's thoughts, they start to speak then stop. Maybe a sudden lack of interest in conflict, a memory surfacing, but without the usual emotional charge. It's described as correction, not like exerting power.
And again, belief doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. The materials are presented as infrastructure, not ideology. Resonance, placement, configuration. That's what counts.
So, bringing it back around for our listeners, this whole system, as described in these sources, offers a potential way to navigate, well, all the noise out there with maybe more clarity, less distortion, which seems to align with why you found these texts interesting, seeking knowledge efficiently, deeply, without overwhelm.
Exactly. It presents a non-cognitive approach almost.
So, in this deep dive, we've unpacked this triad, aluminum mirror, obsidian, angel quartz, presented not just as objects, but as a sophisticated system for essentially filtering and stabilizing your personal field.
Yeah, the key takeaways are really the mirror is that passive deflector, obsidian is the internal processor and anchor, and the quartz is the resonant tuner, but only within that protected grounded space created by the other two.
It's framed as this kind of quiet technology for quiet sovereignty. A different path, maybe, away from big spectacle spirituality or just surrendering to external tech.
Hopefully, exploring this has sparked some of those aha moments, seeing familiar materials in a completely different light.
Definitely food for thought.
It really is.
Yeah.
This perspective on everyday materials having potentially profound effects, it's quite compelling. So maybe a final thought to leave folks with. What are the implications of this idea of pre-language filtration for post-chaos navigation? What other silent systems, subtle configurations, might be shaping our perceptions and choices without us even realizing it? Something to mull over.